So I haven't talked about my Qliphothic journey in a while. Probably it's been over a year, maybe longer since I brought this up. So for those of you who have been following me over the years, over my transformations in my personal spiritual journey and my business, then you already know that I went through the Qliphoth initiation, the shadow tree. I am on the left-hand path. Now I've gone through several initiations through my DNA, and I've gone through one external initiation over the years, okay? And one thing I will say, when you're dealing with the shadow realm, when you're dealing with the hell realms, you're dealing with the deepest, darkest parts of yourself. My cat just jumped up to jump on my lap and missed and clawed the shit out of my leg right when I was saying that. So, as I was saying, this whole thing with folks claiming to have gone through the shadow realm, and then you don't see any transformation, okay? So if somebody claims that they have gone through the Qliphoth, they've gone through the shadow tree, or they've done a huge shamanic initiation through the underworld, right? But their life just doesn't seem to really change externally, like in the external world, because let me tell you something. Things may work faster in the ethereal realms. Things may work deeper in the shadow realms. But when all is said and done, the physical realm is the slowest. So if you've done all this inner work, and it's been like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and you are still the same fucking person that you were before, or let's say they start declining, I'm going to tell you what happened. They did not complete their initiation. They did not face the parts of themselves that they needed to face. They did not integrate the parts of themselves they need to integrate. They did not destroy the parts of themselves they need to destroy. They did not swallow the parts of themselves that they needed to devour. Okay? Here's how you know. The Qliphothic initiation will literally collapse your fucking soul into a black hole. That's what it does. Literally. Okay? Like at a deep metaphysical level, that is what you are doing. Alright? This is what The Walking Dead is talking about. When you go through the Qliphothic initiation, you are literally being taught, usually by Lilith, sometimes by Nama, or some other, guide in the Qliphoth. Whether you want to take that to be external or internal, that's your journey, right? I will typically look at it as sides of the same coin. Whether you want to look at it external or internal, it's all us, right? Point being, you will learn how to vampire. You will learn how to properly transmute energy and fill your own cup. So if you start aging really fucking fast after you do your Qliphothic initiation, there's something wrong. Something ain't right there. Okay? If all of a sudden you start doing worse in your finances, you start slipping into addictive patterns, indulgences, something ain't right. Now, I'm not talking about when you're going through a specific sphere, okay, a specific Qliphoth where you're actually dealing with that part. Because some folks, part of their shadow work is having to indulge and break taboos because they have repressed those parts of themselves over the years. So that can absolutely be the case, but here's the difference. If it's something that you can't experience, feel reclaim and walk away from, if you get stuck in another hell loop in the process, then you fucked up. You did not complete your initiation. You got stuck in a hell loop along the way. And that's what I'm talking about. Because each of these Qliphas is going to deal with a different part of your shadow nature, of your demonic nature. What is the demon? The demon, depending on what belief system you want to adhere to here, but originally it dealt with the ultimate self, the raw, untamed self. That would guide you. Sometimes it would come in the form of a physical familiar, sometimes in the form of a guide, sometimes in the form of the higher self. But in my opinion, it is the most true raw self, which what? Exists in the unconscious, exists in the underworld. That's where almost 90% of who we are exists, is in the dark. So how are you going to say that you went through the dark and you did this work and your life is in the shitter? No. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. Now, when you're first going through it, yeah, because you're literally traveling through your hell. You're literally traveling through hell. So, yeah, it's going to be hard. But each time you go through that next level of initiation, you're going to get stronger. You're going to see some gifts come online. And I'm going to tell you right now some of the shit. I'm going to tell you what happens. See, here's what people don't fucking talk about. You look at let's give this as an example, okay? I know it's not the best example, but let's give this an example. You look at high-level initiates through certain occult circles. Do they often walk around with a sun on their forehead? Nope. These people will look normal. They'll blend in. Now, I'm not saying that you have to look a certain way or act a certain way. Please don't misinterpret what I'm saying. Authenticity is key. But what I am saying is they're not wearing their occult path as a fucking costume, okay? And quite often, one of the main lessons you'll learn as you go through the Qliphoth, once you've gone through all of that initiation work, is you will learn how to be the power in a room. Whether that is subtly or overtly, you will learn how to navigate the matrix, the system. You become like a god with cheat codes. Walk around there so you know. So when you're looking like everyone else, you are not acting like everyone else. You are not like the matrix, but you are navigating through it, understanding the cheat codes and understanding how to thrive in the system. Because this physical world is a system. It has laws. It has rules. Now, a lot of people just think that, going through the left-hand path initiation has to do with, oh, well, I'm becoming a god, so I can do whatever I want. Yes and no. You have to excuse me, folks. I'm letting in one of my other cats. Come on, darling. Are you coming in? Well, you've got to make up your mind. Okay. Good boy. So, that's a good kitty. So, the situation is you will embody the fullness of your nature, which is God-like, okay? Because we all come from source. So that's what the left-hand path is about. We are claiming our autonomy because we already understand we're already God, okay? We don't need to become God. We are God. It's just what we're doing is we're reclaiming those broken pieces. We're taking in our sovereignty. We're reclaiming that power, okay? That does not mean that we are still in these human bodies, that we're not subject to the laws of this realm. In fact, the whole point of being here is to learn how to thrive, how to master the material realm. So, I say all this to say, if your life gets worse, you're living in a shithole, you're addicted to drugs, you're aging, you're stuck repeating the same old patterns, or you haven't, or you even picked up some new bad habits along the way, you did not complete your initiation. Okay? Because what happens on the other side of that is you are not bound to hell loops because you broke that shit. And you should be looking more youthful. Because as you have healed and you have reclaimed things and you have burned down certain versions that are holding you back, the natural progression is for your life to get better. Whatever that looks like for you. Your life will get better. You will look more youthful. You will look more healthy. You will have a more healthy, balanced mindset. Your material world will reflect your inner desires because you are embodying your authentic self, your power. You have healed. You have reclaimed all the pieces in your hell. Okay? So your life will reflect that. Don't listen to any fucking, person out there claiming to, walk the shadow world or or gone through this fucking initiation and their life doesn't reflect it. Now, I'm not saying that, everybody has their own individual things they're learning and lessons. And some of us, we have a lot of knots in our ancestral line we untangle. And some of us, we came here not just with our own shit to break, but we came here with generational hell loops that we have to walk for our ancestors too. So I'm not saying that everything is just going to be perfect and flowers and rainbows and unicorn farts on the other side of it. But what I am saying is you will notice your life improving. You will not be going downhill, okay? And so the telltale signs that somebody has completed a Qliphothic initiation is that their life improves. It doesn't get worse. It gets better. Because they are mastering themselves, and as a result, they are mastering the physical reality. You understand? Unless it is a conscious choice for your evolution, like you decided this when you came here, unless it is a conscious choice in your evolution to, for example, reject certain wealth. Like if your soul has decided you don't want any of that, you don't want a part of that, that's different. There are some folks that have made that decision, okay? But if you having no wealth as a result of you having scarcity energy, broke mentalities, you're claiming, that you're wealthy but you're not. And it doesn't always have to come in money, folks. It can be in energy, it can be in joy, it can be in health, it can be whatever, right? But I'm not saying it's all going to happen overnight. Like you're going to go from, $30,000 a year to, 6 figures or 7 figures like overnight. I'm not saying that. And some people don't want that. But your life should reflect very closely your dream reality. Or at least you're on that journey and you are on that evolutionary path. If you're going downhill, if your shit is worse than it was before and it's not getting better, you did not pass your initiation. Because that shit is going to show physically. It's going to be obvious. The physical realm will reflect what is done in the spiritual realm eventually, even if it's a little slower, okay? So here's what to look for. And the reason I'm bringing this up is be careful of occultists, magicians, practitioners, teachers, conjurers, shamans, that claim that they have walked through the shadow realm and came out the other side, and if their lives are in the shitter, then that is something that you need to look at. If they look all old and their energy seems like death-like, let me tell you something. A true vampire, a true left-hand path, a true master or mistress of, let me call it this, a true descended master or mistress who has went down and came out the other side, they're not going to look old. They're not going to have that decrepit death energy. That's somebody that's being devoured, literally, by the Qliphoth from the inside out. That's not somebody that passed through. Because when you pass through and you collapse your soul and you pass through on the other side, you're going to have that eternal youth shit going on. You're going to look like, younger. You're going to age backwards and shit. At the very least, your energy is going to have that youthful glow. Because think about what a vampire looks like. It represents eternal youth. This is symbolic. You went through a death and rebirth process, a heavy one, an intense one, the biggest one of your life. So on the other side of the rebirth process, you're going to look better. So if you're dealing with someone, and I'm not talking about having the true death current is not decay in that sense. Like, yes, death brings decay, okay? But if someone is carrying the true death current, they're also carrying the rebirth current. It's a current of transformation and cataclysm. It is not a current of decay. That is something totally different. That is the evidence of death without rebirth. Let me say that again. That is the evidence of death without rebirth. Okay? Because somebody that has gone through that and is reborn on the other side, they're going to have that eternal youth energy. Here's another thing. Their finances get worse. Okay. You're on the left-hand path, and when you started, you were making $90,000 at this corporate job, and now, you're broke, living with roommates or at home or on somebody's couch, talking about how you're a master magician. Okay? Now, let me give you a different situation. Let's say that because the corporate job was not serving your nature, let's say it wasn't serving your evolution, well, yeah. Then in that case, it could be ripped away from you. You could experience a tower moment where maybe you are living in your car temporarily, but then what's on the other side of that? Something that is aligned for you. As long as you are doing your inner work, on the other side of that, you can find something better. Maybe you start your own business. Maybe you find a job that pays better, that's more aligned to the hours you want or what you're wanting to do in the world. Okay? But if your life just gets worse and worse and worse, and here's the other evidence, you'll get locked in deeper hell loop cycles. So if you are somebody that came in there, and you're like, oh, I'm going to tell you the kind of people that fall into this shit, okay? They're the ones that they see this online, they idealize it, the thing is going to make them more powerful, they feel powerless in their lives, and they have no idea what the fuck it takes to get to the other side, like the people who have successfully crossed the abyss did, okay? And so when they get in there, they just stop doing it. I'm going to tell you what happens. And a lot of times they don't have the tools, that they don't have, because they haven't done meditations before, because they don't know how to do shadow work or whatever. They go in unprepared with the improper tools, improper teachings. Maybe they're just going off some grimoire, but they have no idea what they're dealing with. Those are the people that get stuck. I'm just being honest. Okay? And pretty soon they start feeling like the demons that they're supposed to be working with are attacking them and feeding off them, and they're hearing voices and shit. It's because your underworld turned on you. You're upside down in there. Because you weren't ready and willing to deal with the consequences. You weren't willing to face yourself. Let me tell you something. The shadow realm will test you. It is not like the light realm will test you too, but the shadow realm will really push you to your limits, and quite often they will attack you to test you. The correct response is to attack back and devour. You don't, yeah. You don't just run and hide and get stuck in a hell loop. You gotta face shit. Another thing I will notice that people haven't completed the Qliphoth initiation. Let me tell you something too, okay? And I did another video on this. A Qliphothic initiation, a journey, somebody completely completing that on the other side, it is not always going to be done the same way for everyone, okay? Some people may do it with external rituals. Some people may do it through path working, which is what I did. Some people it's a mix of both. I literally navigated the entire Qliphothic journey within my own being. And I saw the hell realms reflected in my external reality. The external started revealing to me what I was doing in the internal as a lesson or reflecting back to me. Case in point, going through the Qliphoth and seeing ravens while I'm in the realm of dispersion of ravens, seeing a lot of ravens. I'm in the Qliphoth. I am in the realm of Asmodeus, and I'm seeing fucking fires hitting houses around me and shit. Okay, this is the kind of stuff that I saw, that I dealt with in the external reality. Certain people acting like the demons of that Qliphoth to test me. Okay, so I would be approached by spirits in my mind's eye, and they would take me on journeys within my own underworld, sometimes in the dream state too. And then in the physical reality, I would get tested. So that's what it looked like for me. For other people, it may be totally different. But the point is, your life should get better. And let me tell you another thing they don't talk about. Everybody's in the Qliphoth for different points of periods in the journey, and it's not linear. Everyone talks about it being a shadow tree, and you're just going from one to the next, and not always. I found myself quite often in multiple spheres at once. But sometimes I might be in the top, the middle, and the bottom at the same fucking time. So, nothing is linear, okay? Nothing is linear when we're dealing with multidimensional realms, for one. So, and I've talked about that in my other video about how it's not always like one step and then the next. But I know I've been babbling on and on in this video. It's a raw channel. I'll probably go back and edit it. I may not. I may leave it just as it is because this is the raw nature of the shadow realm. But I saw somebody on YouTube that is a high-level initiate, someone that went through and came on the other side. And their life, did improve from what, they were sharing and stuff. But one thing I didn't notice was interesting is they look a little older. So that is strange to me. But it doesn't look like that decay necessarily. It looks like more of somebody that's been through the ringer and doesn't have the genes to... But it triggered this message. It was like, it's time to talk about this. Like the evidence of what's seen and unseen when it comes to the shadow realm and the Qliphoth, and like how you can tell if somebody's really done it. They're going to look better. They're going to feel better. They're going to be better. And here's the thing people don't want to talk about. If you're not the one that's gone through it and they have, you may not remain in their life. Because let me tell you something else. Things, people, situations, environments, they will get purged right the fuck on out of there if that person is willing to let go. If they're not willing to let go, it's going to intensify. And that's when the hell loop starts. I went through this myself. I went through an initiation with a person that was supposed to represent a temporary lesson for me, and I got stuck in a hell loop for a year. Now, on one hand, I don't regret it, because on one hand, there were a lot of things that came out of it. You know, this person and I, we catalyzed each other. And it wasn't like it was just strictly all, you know, quote unquote negative. I don't even like using that word, but it wasn't all like that. But the point being is, because I was remaining in a situation where I knew I had not even outgrown. I was way above that frequency before I got involved, but I let it be something that was not meant to be long term. I got stuck. Over the years, that has been my weakness. My Achilles heel has been the opposite sex in relationships. I've noticed, like, they'll either lift me up or they'll drag me fucking down. And I think that's the case for everybody, but some people, their lessons are very centered around relationships, and so relationships will have a bigger impact on them. So I temporarily got stuck in a hell loop myself in this journey. But because I sacrificed that part of myself, and I sacrificed that person, that environment, that situation, my life got better on the other side. There's the evidence right there too. You know that you're doing that inner work when you let go of something that wasn't serving you and your life gets fucking better. Quite often in the shadow realms, you have to lose what you had to become and get what you want. People don't like to talk about that either. See, everyone talks about, like, let's say, for example, everyone talks about sacrifice and Satanism. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't cults out there that are doing fucked up things and sacrificing. Like, let's not even go there and talk about it. I don't want to mess up the algorithms, but the point is, I'm not saying those things don't happen, but in true, quote-unquote, Satanism, it's about autonomy. In true Satanism, the left-hand path, it's about reclaiming your power. When you do that, you're not trying to get in the way of anyone else's. In fact, you will tend to have more respect for other people's autonomy because you respect your own. Unless you're a damn psychopath. But where I got a little lost in that, the whole point I was making is that the symbolism of sacrifice, it's an internal sacrifice. It's not a literal blood sacrifice, okay? Blood sacrifices are an archaic, rudimentary expression of something that should be done internal, in my opinion. The true sacrifice is done within. The true sacrifice is sacrificing the versions of yourself that prevent you from getting to where you want to go. And anyone that's tied to them, and anything that's tied to them, that's not a literal physical sacrifice in the sense of death and blood and bones. But it's still a death, isn't it? Even if it ain't literal, it's still a death. So that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to channel this because I feel like there are a lot of folks out there they don't know how to recognize someone who has been on this journey and has gone through it on the other side versus someone who hasn't. And let me be clear, when it comes to shadow work in general, I'm not talking about the Qliphoth, but when it comes to shadow work in general, we're never done, okay? Hey, and it is possible to revisit the Qliphoth, right? The Qliphoth is the shadow tree. There's our shadow stuff. It is possible to go back in again. That's another thing people won't talk about. There are levels to this shit. There are realms that are not even talked about in the original shadow tree and the text and the grimoires. I'm telling you because I've fucking seen them. They're not even talked about. There are abyssal crowns that you can gain that are surpassing the tree. I'm just saying, you know, this is not something for the general public, so I'm not going to talk about this. I might talk about this through select online programs in the future, but this is not something that I'm going to just share publicly. But I just wanted to give some folks a little direction, a little evidence, let them know what's what on this journey, so that if you're looking for a guide, you know what to look for. Some folks like having a mentor. Also, a lot of people will follow certain teachers and grimoires. Think about this. I'm not saying they didn't have, they can still have a legacy and have wonderful information to pass on, and no disrespect, but what did their life look like at the end of it? Think about that. I think those who know what I'm talking about. All right? So that's all I got. Thanks for tuning in. I am Brianna, the Line to Empress Coach, signing off.